Week 1 is done. On the heels of a most phenomenal weekend of football and fights, gears now shift on to Week 2. The wait is over, and so is Alexa Bliss's Backlash ring attire. This is the Wrestling with Football podcast with Matty, Simone, and Grant Sawyer. Well, Week 1 is indeed in the books, and you are joining the Wrestling with Football podcast. I'm your host, Matty Simone, and joining me, as he will do every single week, Grant Sawyer. Grant, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. I actually had a couple of people come up to me on the show on Saturday and mention the podcast thing to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bruce Mitchell of the Pro Wrestling Torch and Brad Attitude, actually.
Oh, sweet, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you, for all of you who, if this is the first time you're tuning in, Grant is the technical director at CWF Mid-Atlantic, responsible for shooting pretty much everything. With a camera, and he's been doing this for many years. So yeah, how was the show?
It was excellent. Trevor Lee had an incredible match with Joshua Cutshaw, who no one has ever really heard of. He's very under the radar, and it was the first time we've really given him that opportunity to be on that stage, and he hit an absolute home run. The match airs in about 2 weeks' time on CWF Worldwide, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
CWF Worldwide is on YouTube every Thursday night?
Every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock.
Wednesday night at 9. It's right after, I guess, the deal on the network. Like, you go from the network, and then you go right to YouTube, and you watch CWF. Is that the kind of the gig there?
Yeah, that's the gimmick, because that way you can hashtag NXT and plug our stuff, too, and hopefully we'll get a few extra views from it.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, you guys are responsible for some of the guys that are coming up there anyway, so... You know.
See, I know we're talking football first.
Right, yeah, I know, right?
Quick little plug.
Gosh, so we're jumping off of wrestling just because, you know, Grant just came off of a weekend of wrestling. It was a pretty tremendous pay-per-view last night. So this is Monday night. We're taping it now. But we will get to that shortly. Right now, let's get right to the football. My gosh, Week 1 is almost in the books. There's a red team and a white and blue team playing on the television right now. I think that looks like the 49ers and the Rams of Los Angeles, but I'm not sure. But anyway, what did you, Grant, I mean, come on. This was like, how perfect was this past Sunday?
Dude, as a football fan, I mean, I think that the whole weekend, we had 2 blowouts. The Steeler game, and the other blowout was your Eagle game. Everything else was fantastic.
Dude, I have that right here. That was like the next thing I was going to say. Dude, only like 2 blowouts, and can you believe that the Birds were one of the blowouts? Like, it doesn't feel like a blowout, but looking back on it, you know, I guess it was just because I was just in it on every play, and I wasn't looking back. I was just kept looking ahead, not thinking about what we had done. Yeah, I mean... It was a good Sunday. Now on my end, I got to see a game that I thought was going to be like things on your end Sunday with the Packers traveling to Jacksonville, and hey, they did. The game was exactly like what you had feared going down there. I got to see a little bit of it, but what did you take away from the Packers' very very strong victory with Jacksonville?
Good Lord, what a miserable 3.5 hours that was in my house. The way our TVs are situated, I can stand in one room and watch my Packer game in one while I watch Colby's Chargers game in the other room. And to watch those 2 games at the same time was just maddening torture throughout. I love what the Packers were able to do against the Jags, especially considering Jared Cook had 1 catch. Whoa. Jared Abbrederis had 1 catch. Clay Matthews had a pretty forgettable game, but still to pull out a quality win over an absolutely quality team that we don't have to see for another 4 years, thank God. Get out of Jacksonville and move on to the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the Vikings for you guys next week?
On Sunday night, their debut in that new indoor stadium for, I believe, 1 year in the NFL until the Falcons open up that, whatever that thing is.
The donut. That's what it looks like. It looks like a donut down there in Atlanta.
I don't know, man. Donuts are too good to call that thing a donut.
All right, well, we'll have to come up with something about the buzzsaw in Atlanta that they're constructing for a stadium. So you guys get to open up the spaceship in prime time against the Vikings. We get to have a chance to help you out because the very next night, Monday night, the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Chicago to play the Bears, which, as a kid, the Eagles never won at Soldier Field, and since I've gotten older, it seems like, the Eagles do fairly well there. I can remember a game a few years back that was pretty brutal. I think it was a Sunday night game where the Bears won. Anyway. So you kind of had a dramatic day. Me, not so much, which was nice. But in our setup, I was over at my buddy Pete's house. He's a Bills fan. So on the big screen, we had the Bills and the Ravens. So I looked out week 1, and I got to watch the most boring team in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. No offense, Robbie Walsh. The Ravens and Bills, that was something else. I'm glad that I had 2 laptops, one for the Red Zone Network and one for the Eagles right next to me. So I was keeping track of everything there pretty well. Maybe not as up to date as it was. I had to stay away from the bottom line just in case any surprises or spoilers happen because I was about a minute behind. But nonetheless, it's just great that the NFL is back. What did you think of the Giants and Cowboys game?
I figured it'd be close. I mean, I can't really say I was shocked one way or the other. Obviously, Terrence Williams gets our whatever. Come on, brother. Get out of bounds.
Yeah, we'll get to the Andy Dalton Commemorative Primetime Award winner here in a second because I was when we talked about it earlier, you were like, well, Terrence Williams didn't really play prime time, and that's true. But that did happen after 8 p.m. I have another winner of the award from tonight's game, the Pittsburgh at Washington Monday night. Pittsburgh just destroyed Washington tonight. And so anyway, back to the Giants and Cowboys.
I don't have really a strong thought about it outside of, I think, Dak still has a lot of upside. They never got the running game going. And, the Giants just have enough offensive firepower to stick with it. And honestly, I think, this kind of goes into the whole Saints and Raiders game. But, my gosh, week 2, the Giants playing the Saints in New York, I think those Giants receivers are just going to have a field day.
Oh, yeah. I think that the Giants getting that win down in Dallas right away was huge. For one, the Giants haven't done that in the past few seasons, and it seems like they keep opening up against one another. And also, too, Dak Prescott, he didn't make any mistakes, but I don't think that he took many chances either. And I think that he was a little timid out there still. He didn't really he didn't try to go up the field with it an awful lot. Des Bryant had 1 catch. And dropped a touchdown, kind of, depending on how you look at it.
Any opportunity that I have to say, Des dropped it, I will run with it.
Yeah, and and poor guy, that's in the back of his head every time that happens for the rest of his life. But yeah, I thought Dak did a lot of dinking and dunking. The rookies, they really won the day. Yesterday, I think, all in all, because there were just so many, rookies that they have just been that have been highly touted in the past couple weeks, like Ezekiel Elliott and Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. But it was, all in all, I think that and even Brock Osweiler didn't look too bad down there in Houston. They went down early to the Bears. The Bears got up quick, and then they came from behind and kind of just turned it on there near the end. But yes, let's get to the award that we will be giving out to every player each week who decided to just grant, no pun intended, us with a play of stupidity that you look at and you have to say, man, that was just dumb. And tonight,
do you want to explain what the award actually is?
Sure. For any of you that didn't listen to us go in on Andy Dalton on the last podcast, this award is going out to a player that, well, Andy Dalton is just known for sucking in prime time. How many primetime wins does he have? Any? Maybe.
Oh, God, I don't know.
Maybe I'll give him one. I'm not going to look that up right now. But anyway, he had the lowest quarterback rating in history last year. A 2?
It was a 2. 2.0.
Wow.
He had more he had more interceptions in that game than he did a quarterback rating.
That's hard to do, man. That is hard.
It's pretty hard
to do. Unbelievable. So, folks, yeah, that's pretty bad. So, after week 1, Grant, you're looking at Terrence Newman as that just pretty bad, just that was bad. That was dumb. Now, I will say this. I don't think they would have scored anyway. They had 7 seconds had he gotten out of bounds. I don't think they would have scored to begin with, but still, I mean, that is just...
It's a long field goal.
Yeah, but hey, then again, Dan Bailey, I mean, he's automatic. People saying today, oh, he's the best kicker in the game. Like, why can't they just run it out of bounds and leave it up to him and all this other crap? I'm like, man, come on. Ifs and buts. That's all you're giving us right now. Dallas got beat last night, media. Sorry about it. But I'm going to go the Andy Dalton Commemorative Primetime Award winner week 1 is someone that you didn't get to see in action tonight, and that is Jay Gruden, the head coach of the Washington Redskins.
I tried to catch up some as soon as I got back in.
3 straight drives, they get a 4th and short. The first 2 were shorter than the third, and he decides to kick 2 field goals instead. One thing that I've known since I was a little boy, you can't kick field goals and expect to win NFL games. You can't do it. You can't rely on it.
And it's funny, on the flip of the coin, the Steelers were 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and how many times? And what did they do?
Go for it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, ironically enough, John Gruden in the booth was saying, he's like, man, I tell you, man, it's week 1. You got to go for it. I got to disagree with it, man. And so that was it was just too then again, who knows what would have happened, but I think that they would have stood a better chance of going for it those first 2 times than when they tried to do it the 3rd time and just overthought it completely. But yeah, he mismanaged that game from the jump, and that's why the Redskins weren't able to come back, because they did come on a little bit in the second half, but had they not kicked those field goals and they would have scored maybe touchdown or a field goal, it would have been a, 6-point difference, 3-point difference, who knows. But if, the Redskins, they didn't really look that good tonight, Grant. I got to be honest with you. And as much as that warms my heart, just being completely biased, they didn't look good tonight. And I think a lot of people would agree with me.
It's not like the Steelers have like that vaunted offense, especially in the secondary, to really shut a team down.
Yeah, and then you pay all this money to Josh Norman, and he stays on the left side the whole night, and Antonio stays on the right side, and Josh Norman doesn't switch up with, oh my gosh, Breland is the kid's last name, and he just got torched all night long. I mean, he just tore him up all night. Antonio Brown.
Did you see that one? You see that one time where Norman and Brown were lined up across from one another, and Brown literally just ran down and told brother to switch with them, and then like the other guy catches it on Norman. I'm like, nothing. Like,
yeah.
Easy.
They did. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger. There was a couple really beautiful beautiful throws that he made right near the end of the half when they went down the field and scored again, when D'Angelo Williams got his first touchdown. And they're just running quick 3-yard slants over the middle. And Ben Roethlisberger is taking the snap, and he isn't even putting his hands on the laces. He's just throwing it. It's like backyard football, man, and they were tearing them up. Deshaun Jackson had a pretty decent game tonight. But Kirk Cousins, brother, he sucks, man. Like, it's the curse of the Washington Redskins quarterback, man. They haven't had a quarterback since 1984 or 5. And, it's the truth.
He's still a step ahead of RG3.
Sure. Speaking of RG3, looks like he won't be back if he is back for the Redskins game in 4 weeks, because I don't know if you saw his last play of the game. It wasn't the hit that he took on the sidelines. It was him staying in there and on the next play trying to throw a bomb down the field. That's probably what hurt him bad, because he looked like he was in more pain after he threw the ball than he was after he got straight smoked on the sidelines. But, the Browns, brother, you picked them.
Dude, it's amazing. It never changes.
Why did you pick the Browns? That's what I want to know.
No. I mean, you talked about Jay Cutler being serviceable in the first few weeks.
Sure.
I thought RG3 may be okay for the first few weeks before it completely collapses. But Cutler and RG3 both decide to take a dump week 1, and now we're back to Josh McCown.
Well, you know what, too? RG3, it's unfortunate that he got hurt because, had he stayed in there for a few more weeks, when Josh Gordon comes back, then you have to give them that serviceable week or 2 weeks to see if they can get anything going, maybe, because Josh Gordon is a freak.
Hey, let's talk about Terrell Pryor leading the NFL in receptions this year.
1,800 yards, Charles Whitson said.
1,800 yards, yes.
And I turned off NFL Countdown right after he said that. I'm not kidding. And I probably won't watch it again because that was stupid to lead this new team into the season with your first segment being, let's make some stupid-ass predictions. You save that till, there's 5 minutes left in the show. You don't do that right away. I get it. You want to give the audience an idea of who is hosting the show and whatnot, but still, come on. Terrell Pryor? Oh, God. I mean, no, I will say this. Terrell Pryor had a couple nice catches in the first, second quarter of the game to where I was like, oh, God, don't tell me this. But he didn't do anything after that. The Eagles' defense is not going to be kitten by any means this year. I think that they are going to be pretty decent. Like I said, the Eagles are going to be losing a lot of low-scoring games this year. But, hey, man, if Carson Wentz just builds and builds week to week, I'm going to say this. 2 weeks on my birthday against Pittsburgh, that's going to be Carson Wentz's first real test. Fortunately, we're playing him at home, so I'm looking forward to that, even though I hate it when the Eagles play on my birthday. It's horrible. But
I hate it when the Packers play on my wife's birthday.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anybody's birthday that falls in any season of a team that you love, it definitely ramps up the drama on a day that shouldn't have any for each person in the entire world.
Speaking of that, the last couple years, and thank God no one's getting married this year, but somehow both our additional cameraman, Trainee Josh, and our old buddy, Kamikaze Kid, decided to both get married on Sundays in the fall, and both times it was during a Packers-Vikings game.
Oh, my gosh, that's horrible. I remember when I was a little kid when we would have to go, as a family to just go to, outings, with whatever, having to go somewhere, family reunions and whatnot. And I'd always, be like, Dad, man, let's just stay home and watch the game. Dad, I can't do that. We gotta go do this.
I'm with you, but
yeah, but but I was always I remember one year The Eagles made a comeback in Dallas in like 1990 or 91, and Cunningham hit Fred Barnett in like the back corner of the end zone with no time left. And in my, young life, I had never seen the Eagles win on a last-second touchdown before, and I went crazy. So I go running outside, and I'm like, Dad, the Eagles just won on the last play of the game. And he was like, no, I'm recording it. And I can't tell you how many times I've paid for that in my life, to where like either like I'll have like a pal or like my cousin who lives up near Philadelphia, send me a text while I'm working, like during a race or a game or something, and I'll be like, no, I'm recording it. I got to send out disclaimers sometimes. So anyway, yeah, it's going to be a wild year, I think. I just hope every single week can be as tight as this last one was, because I mean, you watch the Red Zone, each game you went to, it just, all of them were close. I mean, gosh, the Colts were getting destroyed, and then Andrew Luck shows us exactly why he is, and proved to me yet again why he is not a mediocre quarterback, and why he is totally like top 2 in the league overall. There's Brady, and then there's Luck, I would think.
What?
Maybe?
Aaron freaking Rodgers.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, see, here's my thing with Aaron Rodgers, and I keep looking back to Aaron Rodgers just having it so easy this year. But this team is so good. Like, Aaron Rodgers this year is probably, people are going to say stuff like, well, he didn't have the numbers. And that's because they're running the damn ball. I mean, he might have a lot of games where he throws 199 yards, 250 yards. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's just so automatic. Like,
when he was getting pulled down by the jersey yesterday and threw another one of those bullseye targets to the end zone. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That was the one that Devontae Adams caught.
I've seen him do that. Yeah, and Devontae Adams drives us Packer fans nuts because he won't drop half the stuff. He's like the new Jermichael Finley. And they come up with this one amazing catch. I was like, well, I guess you get to start still.
Yeah, right. Right, yeah, I have Aaron Rodgers as my fantasy quarterback, but I have Randall Cobb too, and I started him over Deshaun Jackson just as in the flex spot, just to lock him up, because I was thinking Jacksonville in my brain. I was still like, but it's Jacksonville, but proved wrong. I was. I mean, Cobb had a decent day. I won my fantasy game. So, hey, how did you do fantasy wise?
I have Aaron Rodgers too, but I got smoked in mine.
Are you in a 12-man?
I had Melvin Gordon, who, of course, I had on the bench.
Oh! So you had Melvin Gordon on your bench.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there were just a couple calls yesterday. Who knew? Jameis Winston probably wasn't started by a lot of guys. I mean, are you in a 12-man league?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not even sure, but yeah, I'm in 12.
Okay. I'm in an 8. So pretty much it's like a no excuses league. You're stacked. You just better manage your roster and make sure you score 120 points a week. Because all the scores are always like, 125 to 117, it's just crazy. But we don't do PPR. It's just straight up old school fantasy football.
Right.
So anyway, well, to segue into last night's pay-per-view, what a crappy time for a pay-per-view to be in Virginia. Because with WWE's Backlash in Richmond, I'm sure that it would have been more of a thought leading into the pay-per-view had it not been opening Sunday in the NFL.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like, when I first saw the pay-per-view schedule, your first thought is, oh, cool, Virginia, we can make that because it's like a 3-hour trek from my house. And then realize, oh, wait, not that Sunday. I'm not going anywhere.
No. And and I thought about that as soon as because I didn't pay any attention, and as soon as they were like, "We're live from the Richmond Coliseum," I was like, "Oh man, what a crappy day for the WWE to come near all the homies," because no one's going anywhere.
I mean, to be fair, regionally, it was safer than most cities to run in because DC was Monday night anyway.
Right.
And, so.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so they probably had a bunch of people that were like, yes, Backlash tonight, Redskins tomorrow, and they are gonna win. But anyway, let's look at the pape from last night. Overall, did you enjoy yourself for the 2.5 hours?
Hey man, I just about started celebrating when I saw that they were going off the air at 2 hours and 40 minutes in. I'm like, oh please, yes.
Yeah, I was definitely excited. I watched all the football and everything last night, and when I started it up late last night around I guess I started watching it around 11:30, and and I immediately I looked to see how fast or how long the pay-per-view was, and I saw 2:39, and I was like, oh yeah, In Your House SmackDown Live, let's do this. Because like we had mentioned,
do you remember how long?
Go ahead.
Do you remember how long? I'm sorry. Do you remember how long the first In Your House actually ran?
It was like an hour and 47 minutes, wasn't it?
It wasn't even that long. It was it may have been in an hour 28 or an hour 32 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was I mean, and to think in 2016, if they gave us an hour, literally a 90-minute pay-per-view, we'd be like, what?
Yeah.
It's not even acceptable.
Yeah, right. I mean, some people
were paying $15 a pop for 90 minutes.
Yeah, man, and think too that roadblock deal. People were like, they were upset at how short the roadblock was. They thought that whole thing was a pay-per-view in itself. Going into that, and honestly, they got to do roadblock going into WrestleMania every single year for the WWE champion. The champion has to fight somebody that could also be in that main event match before they get to the big one. But I thought it was a great show last night. I was kind of timid when I first saw everything because I just felt like it was an episode of SmackDown Live. I think that or just as far as the way it looks, I think they need to change up the ring ropes for their pay-per-views and either coordinate a white into it or do the all white ropes or whatever. But I thought, man, this really looks a lot like just a SmackDown taping. Then the ladies came out for the 6-pack elimination challenge. Okay, before we get to that, One thing, though, that I really want to see, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think there needs to be more of a division between the brands. No, don't mention it. You can advertise on each other's shows all you want and everything. Don't have the graphic up, but don't say anything about it. And wait till February every year before the Raw and SmackDown start talking, or January, I guess, because everyone's in the Rumble. Because I don't know, man. I think that with more of a division, it will make each brand get its own identity. Because still, I see a lot of the same kind of when I watch both of them. Do you understand kind of what I'm getting at here?
I agree with you in principle, but just in comparison to how it was the last time they did the brand split, I actually think they're doing a far better job this time around. Because I remember back in the day, it's they would come back from break on Raw and they would run the KFC Snacker SmackDown Clip of the Week. I'm like, no, don't do that. And they haven't gone to that extent. You'll get a commercial break, going in or out for the other show, but they haven't really showed highlights of one show on the other one, which was always kind of my big hang up. So I'm cool with the amount that they've done so far. Because I think you'd be doing a disservice to the product if, say, the WWE Championship changes hands on Sunday and it gets zero mention on Monday. I think you still kind of have to promote that to some extent.
So you think maybe possibly, well, wait, you've seen a little bit of Raw tonight, I guess. So did they lead in with like stills from Backlash, or did they get right to Raw?
No, it was straight to Raw, but
okay.
just like they ran a commercial for SmackDown.
What's going to happen tomorrow night? Well, that's fine. Right. That's fine. You can do that all day long. I just don't want like Michael Cole to be like, yeah, you're not going to see this on SmackDown Live, the show I used to host with JBL. And honest to goodness, Michael Cole and Homeboy on SmackDown need to switch roles if Raw's the flagship, because dude on SmackDown is the best commentator in the game right now. What's his name?
Mauro Ranallo.
Mauro Ranallo, man. Sorry, you mentioned Riki Choshu. When someone applies the sharpshooter and you mention his name first, I'm all about that. Are
you familiar with Mauro at all?
Well, he's a boxing guy, right? He came from the...
Yeah, he used...
Go ahead.
No, yeah, he did like New Japan on Access shows, and he's done all kinds of like various, combat sports stuff over the years.
Yeah, he's like Fight Network guy. Yeah. Hey, he's a smart hire, man. Like he's, I think if you want to, honestly, too, if you want to go and watch a show where you got, I guess, because I remember I was jamming up the commentators, the announcers last week. But as far as Ronaldo goes, like, I think he only needs like one guy with him and not two. And the guy that needs to be with him also needs to be kind of like-minded when it comes to like knowledge and when to throw those in there, because that will also be something that kind of gives SmackDown a different feel when you watch it. You watch Raw to be more entertained, and you watch SmackDown for more of the sport. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And what they need is two Corey Graves, because Corey Grave, as the 2016 Jesse Ventura, is doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty well too. His hair is just wild, man. Like, I hope the WWE does a YouTube gimmick or something to where they show like what exactly goes into that signature flip that he has up there. But anyway, let's get to SmackDown and how the six-pack challenge went down between Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Nikki Bella, Natalya, and Alexa Bliss. I honestly, at the very start of this match, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at Becky Lynch, but I'm looking at everyone else, and I'm like, you know what? With how things are going right now, I could believe any 6 of these ladies can win this title. I thought, and how long they went before the first elimination, I was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen here. Were you kind of the same way? I mean, did you feel that anybody could have won that match? Obviously, Becky was going over, but what were your thoughts?
I have actually a lot to say about that match. I think it was far and away the most fascinating on the show. I did not feel like Natalya or Carmella had a chance to win. I thought it was a little too early for Alexa, but that's really neither here or there. My main takeaway from the match was it was possibly the most complex women's match I've ever seen them allowed to have.
Yeah.
And that it held together so well, because when you're dealing with that much time and the experience level of some of the girls involved, it's almost a crapshoot at times. But I thought most of the girls did tremendous. There were a couple of questionable spots, but a lot of times with the girls, the biggest thing I have is like the quality of their strikes, and most of the strikes look so much better than normal.
I agree.
I know if myself or if Stutzy were booking the match last night, the thing that stood out to me is it's how we would have done it to swerve everyone. Because what they did is, I'm watching as a fan, I want to see Becky get it, or, Alexa or Naomi. So, and, and Nikki and Natalia come from that, the previous generation of the Divas. So it's almost like there's this negative connotation with Nikki and Natalia. So when you see Alexa eliminated and then Naomi eliminated, you're like, ugh, our last hope is all on Becky now. And then, so you're thinking, well, you're really questioning the odds, and you finally, as the story progresses, you finally, you get your payoff at the end, but it was only after your other hopes were removed from the equation.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. I think that having Natalia in that match was huge. I'm sure that she was general behind the scenes. I think that I personally, and this is crazy because I would never think this in most situations, I would have been happy if that would have been just a one fall to a finish. But like you said, because it was so complex, it was probably easier for them to do it elimination style. And if you think about it, there wasn't a lot of double teaming going on. And it was like more or less like about 6 singles matches, that were real quick flashes. And then, of course, the dive spot. But I thought Naomi she surprised me the most out of the match. She can go, man. Like, there was a couple things that, there's areas that still, once she starts to run like the same deals like over and over again, man, she's going to be really, really good.
The one thing I also want to mention, as far as it being more complex, it seems like they're actually giving the women more angles or more situations, I should say, that would be just as appropriate for the guys. Because you've seen the guys do the 4-ways and 6-ways
the tower
a million
spots
times over the years.
Yeah.
And then I know you haven't had a chance to watch it, but on Raw this week, they also did a spot where Nia Jax speared Alicia Fox through the ringside barrier, which has always been saved for one of those big, powerful guy spots, whether it's Roman Reigns or someone like that. So I like the fact that they're incorporating spots that you're used to seeing with the guys into the girls. And one thing, my final thought on this, one thing I've wanted for years for the girls, and I think they're finally kind of getting the roster to do it, is actually do a Money in the Bank women's match.
Oh, yeah. I have no doubt in my mind that that's coming. They have to do that, man. They have to do that at the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view. They have to, because they're putting them up on a level, and they have got talent that is on a level to where, we're back to, they're either having the best match of the night or the second best match of the night, and they're having wrestling matches. This is no longer hair pulling contests anymore. This is some legit wrestling, and I am really enjoying it. I'm glad that Becky won, and I'll be interested to see who's going to be chasing after it. Out of the whole night, though, hands down, best ring attire, Alexa Bliss, without a doubt. She stole the show.
Okay. Absolutely, but I've been dying to ask you, what is your take on Naomi's entrance?
Oh, man. It's pure energy, 10
years ago, we would have that on a VHS loop playing over and over on some random Friday night.
Yeah. They definitely have their club dancer character, but what's great is it's we're back to wrestlers again. We don't have gimmicks, even though I was loving, what's her name on, Raw with the club as Nurse,
Dana Brooke.
Yeah, Nurse Dana Brooke. That was great. I was totally down with that. I was like, yeah, run with this. The tag title final, however, was kind of forgettable for me. We didn't get the poop payoff. I figured maybe he'd raise I think maybe he would have raised the belt and then made a face and been we gotta go, and they run to the back because he's got a poop because of the crab cakes or whatever it was he was talking about that Bertha made for him earlier. That was great. He's very entertaining, but it's good for Heath Slater that he's got the tag title with Rhino.
This feels like one of those situations that when they originally set this tournament, that in their mind the Usos were going over, but then Heath got himself so over that they made the call where it's like, okay, we just got to pull the trigger on this guy. Because, with that thin roster, if somebody gets over, you got to run with them to some extent.
Absolutely, and that's a great way to heat up the Usos when they beat them for the tag titles, man. To set them in Alpha up.
God, the Usos do the splashes on that poor family. It'd be awesome.
Oh, God, that would be great if you just started beating all those kids up. Anyway, God, wrestling dreams. Let's get to the main event of the evening. Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles in the main event of a WWE pay-per-view for the WWE World Championship. Grant, go.
I thought they had a tremendous match. It's one of those things that it felt like it was time to end the Ambrose run. He's done a more than adequate job, but there's something about Dean, and it's not a knock on him, where he doesn't truly come off as the WWE champion. And I think Styles is the guy to, especially on SmackDown. And yeah, here we go with the new era.
I'm looking forward to, God, man, it was... I don't know if... I wasn't really expecting AJ to win the belt, but I had the same feelings you did. I mean, honest to goodness, man, I'm ready for them to let Dean Ambrose go loose as a bad guy. But with AJ as the champion now, that's not going to happen anytime soon because, Ambrose still has to get his return deals and all that stuff. So that probably is going to go on for a little while longer. And, I don't know. Obviously, the end game for AJ would be John Cena. Would that be the WrestleMania story? Would that be the deal? John Cena, AJ Styles, and if John Cena wins, he breaks the all-time world title record. Would they do that?
No. I think Styles and Cena, Styles is keeping it alive, but I'm under the impression that would not be a Mania match.
I don't think it would be. I don't think it should be, I should say, just because we've seen so many times.
Yeah, I think they've had, they're not going to top what they did at the last pay-per-view. I think they've hit, I think they've blown it off.
Yeah, I just don't know. I just think back to, if you put something on television, everything means something. And especially with the wrestling, you're really wasting time if you're not, if you're just giving us stuff and we're not getting any sort of, payoff for it. Hence little stupid things like Heath Slater,
Think of it in terms of the Randy Orton Legend Killer, where, he kept knocking off all these legends, but there was never necessarily one payoff to where there was this big revenge thing. And Styles has now collected the Cena armband. He's collected the Ambrose title. He's got these trinkets, you could say, but I don't think there's this grandiose payoff as much as just his accomplishments are just piling up.
So after Ambrose, who do you think's going to go after AJ? Who's the good guy you give him? Orton?
Yeah, I think Ambrose definitely has a rematch on the next pay-per-view, some kind of gimmick match, whatever
Absolutely.
that may be.
Ambrose Asylum match.
Oh, God, no, please, Jesus.
Court of Owls match.
Kennel from hell.
I can't believe AJ Styles is the WWE World Champion. 10 years ago, I'd be like, man, I can't wait till AJ Styles is WWE Champion.
Right. Fantasy booking.
For sure. Fantasy booking.
Hey, I can't wait till Cedric Alexander is WWE Champion since we're on this roll.
Yeah, geez. Yeah. No doubt. Do you think that... Where do you see Styles right now in the overall talent of the whole roster? Who can you compare Styles to in 2016? Who do you think of, in his position right now with what he's doing?
Historically, or just who's on the roster now that kind of stacks up?
No, historically.
Historically, he'll never be the guy, like a Hogan or Cena or something like that. And he doesn't have that, uniqueness of a Savage. But I'd probably put him ahead of Steamboat as far as markability goes. So somewhere in between that Savage and Steamboat, I'm not sure exactly who that would be. Maybe a Davey Boy Smith. Maybe a Davey Boy Smith during that Intercontinental title run.
Yeah, because he was having so many good matches.
Yeah, obviously Styles is a better worker than Davey Boy, but as far as from the WWE perspective of marketing and how they will utilize him, that's one guy that kind of is similar, I think.
I just think back to like the 93, 94 Shawn Michaels, and it was like whoever you put him in while he was IC champion, whoever you put him in there with, it didn't matter. Like all those matches for the most part, anytime he was on television was just solid. He hadn't gotten to that point to where he was like, the ultimate Shawn Michaels. And I agree with you. I don't think AJ, and I don't know if it's just because of like, where he's been and everything, if that's why he'll never be like, the number one dude on everyone's t-shirt and everything. But I think that AJ's fan base rests more with guys our age than it does with like, 10-year-old kids still watching this.
Oh yeah.
But still, I mean, I think that he's the best performer in the WWE at the moment, consistently, right now, at least.
I think you can make an argument for Kevin Owens as far as the main roster goes,
sure.
But yeah, because Owens' promos are stronger, but yeah, you can, here and there, whichever one you want to go with.
Yeah, well, I think that, that. As far as going out on the microphone and being able to just toy with everyone, I see a lot of like The Rock and Kevin Owens, and I always kind of have. As far as just how they are on the microphone, I mean, he isn't whipping everybody into a catchphrase frenzy, but it's not the time for that now. Guys don't really do that anymore. It's the only guys that still do that are the guys that have been around for a while, who just seemingly just keep coming up with new catchphrases that stick, like Jericho, the whole "it" thing. But anyway, yeah, I thought that it was going back to the AJ Styles Dean Ambrose matches. And it always just drives me crazy because it was just how it was back in the day. I always thought, man, the figure four is the easiest move to reverse ever. I mean, just sit up and punch him in the balls, man. Just punch him right in the dick. And they'll break the hold. Better yet, if you're flexible enough and you are a pro wrestler, so you should be, just reach up and grab them. Grab their arm, pull them forward, and then punch their face. But you don't do that because it's wrestling.
There are definitely some people that do not fight to get out of submissions the way they should.
Like the calf crusher.
I'll leave it at that.
The calf crusher should be even easier to get out of. All you got to do is just do just throw your body backwards. But anyway, this is just me being silly. I mean, it's pro wrestling. I know how it works. You just don't do it. You just. It hurts, it's a painful maneuver. And it probably...
if you're on this rant, if you're heading in this direction, I want to point out one thing from that Dolph and Miz match that drove me absolutely nuts. And it's one of those little things that if you're not, necessarily really in the business, maybe it doesn't stand out to you. But the moment where Miz is on Dolph's back with the sleeper hold and... Oh, no, I had it backwards. Dolph was on Miz.
I was like, why does Miz have a sleeper hold? Yeah.
Dolph had Miz in the sleeper hold, and Miz is reaching for the ropes, but he's like unable to walk even though he's standing up. Either drop to a knee or walk to the rope. Don't just stand there immobile and reach.
Yeah, but wrestling...
It drove me, and it would...
It's those magical holds, man. It's like the arm bar. Brother's just holding on to your shoulder, and you're sitting on your butt, and you're like writhing in pain. Like, stand up, push him toward the ropes. Like, what's going on here? But you just don't do that. I remember my dad, he took me to my very first live event in my life. It was a Nitro taping in 1995, the night after the first World War III pay-per-view. The guy, Disco Inferno, he got a kick out of him, and then right away Disco Inferno just puts a dude in an arm bar to where he's basically just got a reverse chin lock on the dude's armpit. And this is during the time where my dad, he's a black belt, and he just looked at that just kind of like this. That does nothing, Matt. This is doing nothing. I'm like, I know, Dad, but it's wrestling, so there's obviously some sort of magic going on in the ring right now that's making it to where maybe when you're within the 4, corners, in the squared circles, some sort of aura is in there to where you like feel it within your bones and you're like, oh my gosh, like if I get punched in the face, like that's going to really hurt. But anyway,
hey, you on this topic, did you see the CM Punk fight?
You know what? I haven't seen it in its entirety.
Sure.
But and I almost kind of didn't want to watch it because of like the magic of wrestling and the magic of, I didn't want to see him lose, I guess, at the end of the day.
Well, here's the thing, I guess. If he had been the first, it would have been very embarrassing. But since Brock went in there and destroyed everything in sight, it's almost like Brock made it okay for Punk to go in there and poop the bed.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really last very long from what I saw. But you know what? Punk, man, he cupped the entire crowd into his hands and looked down at them and like gave them just a wonderful promo to go out with, to where we're like, man, you look at yourself in the mirror and you be like, I ain't doing that shit. I ain't getting in the ring doing that shit, man. And I respect him so much for it. I want him to like now come back to the indies and start kicking a little ass again. So bad. So bad.
I think that ship has sailed, but it'd be cool.
Not on the small level, man. I think that he could still do it and still get like, he got $500,000 for that fight. Dude, like, brother. That's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. It'll help fund that lawsuit he's got going. I got a couple things to throw at you here because I know we got to be getting short on time.
Yes.
You don't see a lot of commercials probably because of Red Zone, and I missed it pretty much all during the early games. Did you see
the Toyota
Bo Jackson?
Brother, yes, I have. It was so awesome. Yesterday, when my buddy Pete saw it for the first time, he was like, that was pretty good. I was like, plug in the Sega.
Yeah.
So good to see Tecmo Bowl. Now, here's something, though, that I didn't know if you knew about coming out this Christmas, the NES Classic console. Have you seen that?
I have seen it. Ironically enough, 2 Christmases ago, I bought my wife an original Nintendo and, Super Mario for her and Tecmo Bowl for myself and Colby.
Wow.
So I was a couple years ahead of it, but yeah, I'm all about the little gimmick.
Well, the main seller for the console for me is the fact that Double Dragon 2's on it, Tecmo Bowl is on it, and the fact that and all the games are like in HD. So it's like if you play it on a big screen now, it looks so blurry. But this is going to be back to like, playing it on a small TV only on a flat screen, and I am stoked for like Tecmo Bowl HD.
Absolutely, brother.
To close the show, and talking.
I got one more thing.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I promised I would mention. I don't know if we talked about it, but as far as my little flag football thing, the other cameraman, Josh, is the head coach. And he suckered me into be assistant head coach. So it's like Team CWF doing this flag football thing. Oh. And we had our first game tonight, and with tied at 12 with about 30 seconds to play, and some kid breaks off, a 40-yard run, and we win 18-12 in the final seconds. Wow.
And that was why you're there, Grant, is to experience a wild scene. Is there a Matty formation?
I'll tell it. He's the one that does the plays. I'll tell him. Colby had 2 fantastic catches and a very good defended pass, which almost he could have picked off and returned.
Okay.
It was good stuff.
Is it all passing, or are we running the football?
It's both.
Okay, so you got a Statue of Liberty down?
Dude, it's all Josh, man. Josh is the one calling the plays, brother. I don't even know what he's calling out there. I'm on the sideline doing substitutions and stuff.
Right, well, gosh, that sounds so exciting. Well, when's the next game?
Monday and Wednesday for like 4 weeks or something like that.
Well, Grant, I guess, man, I guess we could go into week 2. Let's see what stands out week 2 other than Packers, Vikings, Eagles, Bears. Honest to goodness, man, I haven't really looked ahead to see what is on tap. All right, you were saying the Saints and the Giants. Cowboys and Redskins, that's always a shit show. Chiefs, Texans.
Yeah, there's not a lot there. I mean, Colts, Broncos is probably...
Jacksonville at San Diego. Colts.
I felt like
Go ahead.
I felt like the smartest man in the world for a whole half during that Chargers game. And then Keenan Allen went down, and so did their season.
Oh, yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, that's probably the one thing that, out of your predictions, that was the only one really that, is just kind of sad. It's sad that it's already come to an end, but I really don't see the Chargers picking anybody up that can replace Keenan Allen.
Roddy White's still out there.
That's right. He is. But, the Buffalo Bills also, Sammy Watkins, he's hurt too. But they say he can play, but it's more of like a week-to-week thing, and I just don't believe that he can keep those fresh legs going on a consistent basis. Colts at Broncos, 425.
That's probably the best game, matchup-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I could see like Packers and Vikings being good, but that is if Sean. I think if Sean Hill remains the starter, it'll be an interesting game. But if Sam Bradford's in there, brother,
the Vikings said they will not announce their starter until Sunday.
Perfect. I mean, dude, and it's like honestly, you're defending against like you're planning your defenses against apples and oranges at the end of the day. I mean,
neither one of them's going to scramble on us. So
no. Just load the box and eat AP for breakfast, or I guess dinner by that point. Titans and Lions ought to be just a cracker of a game. Dolphins, Patriots. Yeah, there's going to be this week coming up might be a little different. Falcons at Raiders.
Dude, the Raiders may put up 50.
Whoa. Watch out for those guys, man. They were impressive against New Orleans, and then again, New Orleans was very sad.
Jack Del Rio may be nuts too.
Yeah, maybe, but hey, they got that 2-point conversion. They pulled it off, and whenever that happens, you're looked at as a genius. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, they're going at it. The Ravens and the Browns. Oh boy, woo! There are some stinkers coming up this week too, and I'm predicting that none of these games.
The Ravens could be 2-0.
Let's look at what other teams could be 2-0. The Giants, they're definitely going to be 2-0.
No, but I'm saying the Ravens may put up 20 points in 2 games and be 2-0.
That's very true, but that's what's so scary about the Ravens. Like I said when we did our predictions, I was like, yo. The Ravens are also one of those teams that all of a sudden they're 6-2, and you're like, how in the hell did this happen? So we'll see what happens. I think that we're gonna have a lot more, not just one-sided affairs pretty much in week 2, including Monday night. I think that it's gonna go either way. Either the Bears or the Eagles are probably gonna end up winning by a couple scores. I just still don't know what the Eagles are yet. I just don't know if that was a mirage, what I saw. I just don't know. Carson Wentz just did everything he was supposed to do. So, we'll see. But that's going to do it for our Week 1 recap here, heading into Week 2 of the NFL season. And when we come back next week, we're going to be talking about everything that went down this coming weekend. Grant, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you, buddy.
It's been a good time, and I guess we will see you again next week.